All right. I just invite you to find a seat as we begin, and let that seat be tall. You can sit as I'm sitting. You can sit on your shins. You can sit on your couch if you like. I'm going to share a little bit before we begin, but the sharing is really from my heart. It's meant to really guide us into a deeper Yoga Nidra practice. So you can listen with your eyes closed and your breath deep. And with that, go ahead and soften your eyelids, ground in your seat, give yourself a little bit of a wiggle. And just start to feel how the breath is moving through you tonight. You don't have to change your breath, make it anything that it isn't. It doesn't have to be deeper or yogic or full of technique. It's just your breath. And we gather here tonight on the winter solstice, which is symbolically the darkest night of the year. Or it's literally the darkest night of the year. I'm a little nervous. Symbolically, what this night means or lends itself to is emptiness. And that's really the concept that we're working with on a night like this. At the onset of the season of winter, coming out of fall, which is symbolically one of grief, we come to this point where we aren't meant to have anything left to give. And ironically, it's also in our culture a season of giving. And it's meant to be one where we find ways to connect with those that we hold dear. We find ways to give, even if we are depleted. And through that giving, we hopefully receive something back. And so this year, 2020, has asked so much of all of us. And as I read people's reflections on 2020, there's so many words. There's a tough year. It was a traumatic year. It was a challenging year. And it's been all of those things. And it's also been a year of great turning points and great change and new connections, old things withering away, many of us realizing what is important to us. And so when we look at this theme of emptiness, we're also really talking about potential. Because when we're empty, when the vessel is empty, we are blessed with the opportunity for more, for newness, for potential to really be birthed, for our cup to fill. And so what can we do when we are blessed with potential? And from a place where we may feel empty, what can we birth? What can we dream? And so it's not just a winter solstice, like it is every other December 21st-ish. It's also, as you may have read through many astrology talking points being passed around, a new beginning. And we have a conjunction, which is when two planets come very close to each other or touch at the same point within the zodiac. We have a conjunction between Jupiter, which represents philosophy, belief systems, our ability to expand, to learn, to share wisdom, and Saturn, which is the planet of structure and form, and discipline, rules, and authority, and time, which when we look at our own relationship with time, for many of us, that can feel like a restriction in itself. And so when these two planets come together, which happens every 20 years, what we see is a start of a new way of kind of being. We're asked to rewrite our own rules. How do we expand? How do we grow? And what we generally see historically in the progression of these two planets coming together is that the first 10 years of the conjunction tends to be one of reform and revolution, where we have new needs that need to be met. We have new rules that need to be written. We demand more of our powers that be, our authority. Maybe that's our government or ourselves, or even our relationship with how we structure our time and our investment in it. And so we go through this time of expansion over 10 years. And that reorganizes everything. And then we see the next 10-year period of time can often be one of pushback, where the forces that be, maybe it's the government, maybe it's, again, ourselves and our relationship to time, we say, wait, it's too much, it's too fast. And we can see a clash of power. And so what can that mean for this time right now? And why is this time more significant than any other 20-year cycle? Well, for the last, it's debatable, 800 years, 200 years, some will say 2,000 years. It's not so clear scientifically or specifically. We've experienced this type of expansion and contraction in earth signs. And this tends to mean that big castles and big structures and big governments and big organizations get created. And the world expands and contracts, expands and contracts. And in that, society is moved forward, slowly, inch by inch. But we move from one period of time where we don't have basic human rights, or we don't have workers' rights, or access to education. This was a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in the late 1800s. Through periods of expansion and contraction where we experience more care for each other, more care for the environment. We're given the fight to claim civil rights, to claim women's rights, to claim human rights. And this was a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that happened in the 60s. And so all of the themes that we've seen develop and move society along over the last, say, 200 years have had to do with us learning how do we live within the structures of time and space. And that tends to look like the rights handed to us by the government, or the rights handed to us based on our gender or our ethnicity or the color of our skin. And so we have big clashes of power in these structural systems. Well, what's different now, starting today or starting during this period of time, is that the conjunction is for the first time in, some will say, 800 years, that this is happening now in air signs. And specifically, it's happening in the archetype of Aquarius, the constellation of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the revolutionary. Aquarius is about the social fabric of society that fits within those structures. It's about the people. And so this is a time of us reconciling who we are as individuals within the greater fabric of society. And it really opens us up into the element of air, which isn't bound by structures like time and space. It isn't bound by rules that are, sturdy or set. It's really a time of fluidity, and it's a time of us really exploring ourselves in relation to each other. And it's not in relation of me to you, it's in relation of me to us, you to all. And so it's a philosophical change in how we interact with the world. I'm sitting here in one part of the world, and you're sitting in another part of the world. And we've created this quantum space where we can connect with each other. We're being given a portal to grow together, even when we can't sit together. And so what's interesting to me about this period of time that I want to bring into our practice tonight is that it is a time of infinite connectivity and instantaneous change. However, it's also a time of relative separation where we're sort of asked to explore these very, very big philosophical changes in our own containers. We can't necessarily sit in a big classroom together. We can't necessarily experience a person's energy as they are next to us. We have to learn how to connect with each other when we're far away. We have to learn how to feel each other when we can't feel each other. And so this is a huge leap for us as people, as humans, where we have to really step into a place of integrity where we don't necessarily assume we know. And that's one of the teachings of Jupiter, is to be able to hear each other, to listen to each other, to learn, to grow, and to be humble enough to listen. And so this time, this night, this empty space is a time for us to listen to ourselves first, to each other through that, and to something bigger than just our human understanding of existence. Because over the next 3 years, and over the next 20 years, and over the next 200 years, everything that we know the world to be is not going to be proven wrong. It's going to be shown to be one part. And so this time being one that many people are calling a time of expansion is that it's an expansion to know that, yes, I'm right. Yes, I know myself. Yes, you know yourself, and there's more. And so we invite the mystery and the unseen and the deeper, more present need to listen. And so I see this time being one of humanity and humility. And we can best be equipped to approach it with curiosity and openness. And our work here tonight is a step into that, in that the more we can attune ourselves to really listen to ourselves and to this inner barometer of truth and inner ear of humility and humbleness, the more we can find ourselves able to meet not just our needs, but the greater needs. Because I, for one, have found this year to be humbling and expansive and an incredible opportunity to really listen to myself and also to be like totally wrong. And so here we are in this portal, I hate that word portal, this time of emptiness and great potential. And so let's hold that. Let's hold that potential in the darkness. All right. So sitting up tall and with your eyes closed, if you've lost connection to your breath, refind it, and put your hands on your knees. We're just going to do a little bit of moving in spinal work. So you can just start to spiral your spine around, starting in whichever direction feels natural for you. And as you move, you can start to sync up your breath with the pattern of your movement. You can go at any pace that feels natural to you. Good, and then change it up. Go in the other direction. And start to notice how you experience this, as if deep within your spine was a whole network of ears listening and cells feeling, taste buds tasting. And the playing field is in a way starting to even as we shift into this new energetic space. And it sort of invites us all to consider that we're all psychic and intuitive, and we're all business people and entrepreneurs, and we're all rebels and revolutionaries. We're all activists. We're masculine and we're feminine. We're really dissolving polarity and doubt. At least that's the potential that's there. And go ahead and sit up tall in your spine. Take an inhale. Open your mouth to exhale. And then sliding your hands onto the fronts of your shins or your kneecaps, if you're able to access those better, start to rock back and forth on your pelvis. So we're really just rounding the tailbone underneath us. It's not too much of a muscular movement. It's sometimes in Kundalini yoga called the camel ride. So you're just really kind of bouncing as if you're riding a horse or a camel. And just kind of go for a little bit of ride, putting a little bit of movement from the base of your spine up. And see if you can sink a more powerful breath through this movement. Just 3 more. 2, 1. Sit up tall in your spine. Open your mouth, exhale. And then just an easy twist. Take your right hand to your left knee, sit up tall and twist towards the left. Take 3 full breaths here. And maybe try to find the back of your space with your right eyeball. Good, and then winding yourself back through the middle, opposite side. Place your left hand on your right knee and slide your left shoulder back or your right shoulder back, and gaze over your shoulder with your left eye. Nice, and then come back to the middle. And then you're just gonna uncross your legs however they're crossed, extend them forward, and then just shake your legs and shake your arms like a wild human, a wild animal. Right, and then take the heels of your hands and then just start to kind of pound your thighs and around your knees, go down to your shin bones. You can bend those knees as you punch up through your calves and the backs of your thighs. Get onto the sides of your hips and then do it again. Go all the way down. Good, and then come up towards the rib cage, up onto the fronts of the ribs, pound your chest. And you're all on mute, so you can let out a little sound and feel some vibration coming through your heart. Good, and then come down your arms, into your hands and your palms, and back up. Armpits, don't forget your armpits. Through the collarbone and then over to the other side. And try to really pound out as much as you can of your arms at this point. Good, and then I recommend switching to fingertips when you get up towards the more delicate part of yourself. We're gonna get into the face too. So go up to your face, your jaw, cheekbones. You can even get on the bridge of your nose and the sides. And then come around onto the skull and back of your neck. And then once you get to the back of the neck, switch to nice, gentle strokes and give yourself a nice neck massage all the way up to the skull. Aquarius is an archetype, is one that if you follow astrology, you're going to hear a lot about over the next 10 years. And Aquarius is known to be the most distant of the signs, the least sort of, make sure you're still rubbing your shoulders, kind of the least emotional, which isn't so true. I know, Jessica, you're super Aquarian and you definitely feel things. It's just that Aquarius can be a little bit detached. And the gift of that is the ability to see far and wide and to have a really high perspective and to actually be able to serve more people. But what we want to remember when we're working with Aquarian energy and an Aquarian time is to stay in our hearts and to stay tender. Because so much time in our heads can leave us forgetting the real heart of humanity. And so go ahead and place your hands on your heart and find a little stillness, opening your ears to your environment. In the emptiness, there's potential. And in the potential, what I invite for you to place in your inner universe right now is the energy of acceptance. Because here we are, we've been through a year, we've had a time, we faced a lot, and we're still facing a lot. In many ways, I'm sure that each and every one of you has had moments where you've shined this year, and possibly moments you're not proud of. And so we come to a place where we have the potential to accept it all. And what if from that place of acceptance, the whole world opened up to us? So I invite to this practice tonight a simple phrase. I am accepting. I accept. I find acceptance for what is. With your hands on your heart, take a deep breath in. And breathe out. We're going to come lay down for our Yoga Nidra practice. If you are new to the Yoga Nidra practice, it is one done lying down. And lying down for any period of time when not in the bed can sometimes be a little creaky. So grab a pillow if you don't already. This class is called Slumber Party. So if you regularly take this class, you already know. But we want to tuck ourselves in as if we are here in this quantum space, slumbering together. And while Nidra means sleep, a Yoga Nidra means conscious sleep or divine sleep. It is through the practice of deep rest that we find super consciousness, and the ability to connect through timelines, to find ourselves healed, to find ourselves in true acceptance of what is. And so as you tuck yourself in, make sure you're cozy and comfortable. Hit play on that song if you want some music. And we'll begin. You may wish to kind of wiggle yourself a little bit, roll your shoulders back, shuffle or rock your hips and let your feet splay out. Taking a moment to clench and release your fists, your fingers, and your toes. And just explore and experience for yourself what it is to release and soften and surrender into the earth. Winter solstice marks the shift into the season of Capricorn, which is symbolically sometimes depicted as a mountain, or rather a goat climbing a mountain. And so it can be a time to remember how sturdy we are and how resilient we are. That in the depths and the darkness of winter's cold, we have the strength to persevere. And we are taught that just simply in walking on cold earth. So with your eyes soft and closed, feeling the earth beneath you, find yourself in relation to this earth. The feeling of embodiment on the stability of the ground. Notice how your breath feels now in this prone, laying down place? Do you breathe differently when you're reclined, when you're soft? Maybe you run your tongue over your lips just to soften them, letting out a gentle exhale. And feeling that exhale soften the stomach, the heart. And allow yourself to find emptiness. Everything that isn't useful to bring into this new world with you can drain from your body into the earth now to be compost for the spring, the sprouting and the growth, the renaissance that lies ahead for all of us. All of us. Not just those of us on this call, not just those of us with the privilege of internet access and computers and Zoom, not just those of us with the privilege of knowing these practices, but all of us, all of us. And so we practice for everyone, everywhere. We practice for ourselves. We practice for every version of ourselves that has been and that will be. Let out an exhale, honestly, audibly. And we begin the practice of Yoga Nidra with the most gentlest breath, the most easeful breath. We begin. And you'll listen to me as I guide you. My voice is simply that, just a guide. See now in your mind's eye how you visualize a little light. You could call it a firefly, you could call it a star, you could call it a spark. And this is just a tool to guide you, so if you are not visual, just listen and feel or notice or follow. This spark, this light, it touches on your thumbnail, just that small little nail on your thumb on the right hand. And just see that little spark on that right thumbnail, a small little part of you lit up. And see if you can keep paying attention to that little part until you can feel just that right thumbnail. And then from feeling that one little part of you, that one little thumbnail, expand to feel your whole right thumb. And we're going to spend a little time on this right thumb to really hook into feeling. So trace your thumb with your inner sense of feeling. Feel the way that the skin contours the thumb and shapes the nail, the little folds and wrinkles of the knuckle, the bone that creates it, even the blood that flows through it, and all of the space around, within, and on your right thumb. And then another light comes and lands on your first finger, and you feel your whole pointer finger. The third light is now on your middle finger, and you feel your whole middle finger. Light is on your right ring finger. And the fifth light on your right pinky finger. And the light from the fingers streams down into the palm. Little twinkly lights gather and distribute throughout your whole right hand. And it really calls to life all of the functions and systems that exist just in this right hand, just here. So much is happening. An uncountable amount of cells are moving, muscles, bones. Feel your whole right hand. Get lost in the feeling there. And little twinkly lights start to gather and distribute from the hand through the wrist, traveling up the two bones of the forearm, meeting in the elbow. Streams of twinkly lights run up through the bone of the upper arm, the skin and the muscles of your biceps and triceps, all the way up into the shoulder. Twinkly lights land on the collarbone of the right side and distribute through the ribs, the space through the ribs, all the way down through the right waist. Little twinkles of lights illuminate into the right hip bone, the bony structure that forms the right side of your pelvis. And you travel with these lights as they start to expand and multiply into your right thigh bone and your thigh muscles, meeting at the juncture of your right kneecap, your knee joint beneath it, and distributing lights all the way down your calf into the muscles and the two bones that form your lower leg. Connecting once again, these lights stream into your right ankle, and all the way down through your heel and your arch and all of the bones that form your foot. And one twinkly light lands on your right big toenail. This one piece of you lit up. And then another on the second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. And your whole right side lit up by millions, maybe billions of twinkly lights. And they're all streaming together. And then like a spark that jumps through a fire, a light lands on your left thumbnail. Lights up your whole left thumb. And you can feel it, you can see it, you can know it. And everything else kind of disappears as your focus stays intently here on this left thumbnail. And as your attention streams down your whole left thumb, your pointer finger lights up. Little twinkly lights land on your middle finger, your left ring finger, and your left pinky finger. And these streams of twinkly lights pool down into the palm of your left hand, into the wrist. Dazzling little twinkly lights stream into the two bones that make up your lower left arm and meet at the juncture of your left elbow. Coming up into the upper arm of your left arm, the muscles of your biceps and triceps and shoulder, streaming through your collarbone. Gathering and distributing down your rib cage, the space between your ribs, all the way down through your waist, the bony hip, and the left side of your pelvis. And the never-ending stream of twinkly lights fill your whole left thigh, the bone, the muscles, the fluid, the flow, meeting at the juncture of your left kneecap and the knee joint beneath it. And twinkly lights illuminate down the lower leg, the calf muscle, and the bones of the lower left leg, all the way down into the foot. And feeling and seeing, experiencing these twinkle lights fill the whole left foot. Little pulsating movements of light gather into the heel and the arch and all of the bones here. And one little spark lands on your left big toe. One part of you lit up. And another on your second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. All of your toes lit up. Your whole left side lit up. Little twinkly lights, millions, maybe billions of them. And here you experience both left and right side. Left and right side merging together as indistinguishable. These twinkly lights sparking from side to side, removing any boundary or division between left and right. You're given this ability to explore yourself three-dimensionally, not just the left, not just the right or the front or the back, but all of it. Exploring this light gathering and moving through the back of the heels and the back of the thighs. Millions of little lights gathering and distributing through your spine and the spaces between each facet of your spine. Each joint lit up, gathering light, infusing it up the spine, through the neck. Little vibrations of light through the back of the skull and the back of the head. The crown and the forehead, covered in a wash of light. Little points land on the eyebrows, pooling into the brow center. And as the eyes roll up towards the light of the brow center in the most subtle of ways, they too transform. Distributed light, tiny points everywhere. A wash across your whole face. These little points of light dissolve the structure and the form of your face into one light show. Little points of light dissolve your ears. And as you enter into your body through this dissolution, the whole inner scape of your skull becomes like the darkest night sky, awash with little stars. And right there in the center of your skull, two bright lights so close together. Your pituitary gland and your pineal gland, two bright points of light. The throat dissolves into lights, and these little sparkling points distribute down into your heart and your lungs, and through the labyrinth of systems of your torso, the organs, the pumps, and held within the illuminated cage of your ribs, all of these constellations of light. And the brightest one of all, the eternal sun, is here at your heart, and you experience a bright and beaming light here. The whole body is awash with billions of tiny little lights, stars and sparks, all gathered and dispersed around this eternal sun here. And as you sit here within this sun, notice yourself breathing. Surrounded by pure spaciousness. Your breath undulates. It gathers. It lets go. And the light expands, contracts. There is both supreme movement and infinite stillness. The light of this center sun is eternal, enduring, but the space around it is always in flux. And observing how with your breath these points of light are magnetized both to the sun, drawing in, and both away from the sun, releasing out. And there's this never-ending undulation, drawing in and full release. How can you draw this light in and make this eternal inner sun brighter? How contracted and pulled in can you experience this moment? And in the vacillation of light, how far can you disperse these tiny fragments as you release? Exploring all the way to your left and all the way to your right, beneath and above you, this full dispersion of light fragments. Exploring how vast and how far you can really reach your experience. Watch it naturally happen. And tiny points continue to expand out. in all directions, all parts of you completely dispersed. And when you get too far to the outer edges of feeling, contract again. Draw all of that light back in like a magnet from the center, pulling everything in. And experience yourself as one connected, enduring flame of light. How much can you draw yourself in to this heart? Any little piece of you dispersed out into the ethers, out into the universe, magnetizes in to this one eternal light. And here, call in acceptance. The infinite potential of an accepting heart. This whole heart in full acceptance. And notice yourself soften. And you release yourself completely into this light of acceptance. Become whole in it. That in the foundation here, the center of acceptance, is an infinite energy and potential to walk across aisles, change, to become more of who you are. And from acceptance here within comes a release. Every part of you, an eternal sun in and of itself, all of these fragments once again distribute and disperse and expand. Expand from this center place out into the world, filling your room. These twinkling, dazzling fragments of light, each fragment whole in itself. Filling your home, expanding to your street, and casting the light of expansion, potential into your community, into your city, into your country, dissolving all borders. This light extends across the land. A light that all people on this land can look up and see and know they are accepted as well. It travels across oceans, airways, and it's not just your light, it's the light. It blankets the whole earth. And it is known through this illumination that there's no need to prove anything. There's no need to be anyone, perfect a thing. Acceptance is the basis of being. You held in the magnetism of being, now lie back and surrender. Both expanded and contained. Able to reach the whole world and remain in yourself. Rest in the blessing of being. Rest in the wholeness of acceptance. You are safe here. You're home. Little sparks of light come back into your consciousness. And this time collecting and gathering with each other, streaming into pools that fill your fingers. Your light streams fill your palms and your arms. And then as they stream, they form the structures that give you the ability to move, to touch, to be. Light fills your arms, your torso, your legs, and streams of light gather through your feet and up your back, your neck and your skull and your face. And your human form begins to take a greater and more dense shape, wrapping itself around these streams of light, these little hues, twinkles, light points. And each of us everywhere share. We share this magic, this sparkle, this light within us. And now is the time to accept that magic, that twinkle. And while this light moves through all of us, the form it takes in each of us is unique and needed. And as you find yourself being formed, Can you find acceptance for the privilege and the blessing of being human, being Hugh, light, man, being. And there's nothing you need to do or be or perfect. You are whole. The potential exists in us all. From the emptiness to the fullness. Cycle after cycle. Always. And the practice of Yoga Nidra is complete. And feel the little sparks of light move you in fingers and move you in toes as you start to explore these pieces and parts of you come together. Stretch, wiggle, release, but stay within. Stay here. Let your breath wake you up. Roll yourself over to your side, taking your time and your care. Curl yourself in close in this really contracted, tender fetal pose. And before you sit up, just consider the infinite potential that exists on this darkest night. We do not need to know what we fill this capsule with at this point in time. We simply accept the shift and welcome more of ourselves to come alive. So consider in your rising a part of you you wish to bring to life or bring to light in the coming days. Maybe it's the funny part of yourself or the reverent part of yourself, the goofy. Maybe it's the angry part of yourself or the strong part of yourself, the fierce one. Whoever and whatever you are bringing to the light, sit tall in that embodiment, whomever that may be. And know that you are presented with the potential to be whomever and however you want in your multi-dimensionality. And so with that, close your eyes, sit tall in yourself, breathe deep into your being, and exhale out. May we welcome the growing of the light, not to cast out darkness, but to allow more of us to be seen. Namaste. Thank you. Happy solstice. Thank you so much. If I haven't met you, my name is Julien Elizabeth, and I hope to get to share more astrology and yoga nidra with you in the new year. I'll be teaching a weekly class with love, so you can look for that in the schedule. It'll be nidra and astrology, and I also share and teach astrology all over on Instagram and my own website. And I'm also throwing a big New Year's Eve event party that I want to invite you to. And it's basically like a multi-stream virtual experience that allows us to connect with each other intimately, like voice to voice, as well as just like drop into different dance rooms and yoga classes and just be who we are, not just yoga teachers or yoga students or people who do just the one thing we might be known for in our respective boxes, but give us the opportunity to also just have fun together and be fun and not feel like we're in boxes, even though right now we are kind of in boxes. So I'd love to invite you to that. And I'm going to pop in the link to it, but also connect with me, on Instagram or email, and let's just be friends in the new year and get to know each other for real. Because I think sometimes we can easily just feel like we're in boxes and we don't really know each other. So here's how you can connect with me. And then here's the link to the event. It's called Virtual Insanity. And if you know the reference, it's an amazing song, but it's also like a little bit kind of like the vibe of what we're in right now. It feels like sometimes, like this virtual insanity world. So I'm going to be sharing more about that event if you want to check out the page for it. And I just hope that we can stay growing and stay connected in the new year and this new world of, really just growing into who we are as sovereign beings, contributing together. So if what I said tonight resonated with you, please share. You can unmute yourself or type or whatever feels good for you. Thank you.